welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming 10 summer palettes you might already have or you might want to add to your collection. So if you guys are interested in hearing me chat about some palettes, then just keep watching. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name is KARENHARRIS. I like to film tan girl friendly makeup videos here on YouTube. I love chatting about eyeshadow palettes, and so if that sounds good to you, highly recommend subscribing, turning on that bell so you're notified every time I post, and without further blabbering, let's get into it. Okay, you guys, so I try really hard to find other ways to talk about eyeshadow palettes that I already have in my collection. I feel like this year so many of you are on low buys and no buys, so talking about palettes that you guys already might have is a really fun way for us to connect and chat. So I did scour my collection. This was so incredibly hard, you guys, and I found 10 palettes that are really giving me the summer vibes. I tried really hard not to just grab all of the new summer palettes that are in my collection, so hopefully I did a good job. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments what palettes you guys are reaching for this summer. And without further blabbering, let's get into my picks. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a bit of a bang here, but what kind of person would I be if I didn't mention my friend Heather Austin's collaboration with Unearthly Cosmetics? This is the Resurgence palette. Now, this is quite the grungy color story, but I feel like if you've seen all the videos and looks that Heather has created, other content creators have created, you can actually make this palette very, very approachable. You can create a lot of neutral looks with it. And overall, I think that she really did such a good job of picking colors that unexpectedly really go together. Like, I feel like when I looked at this palette at first, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know. This is like a lot, but I've seen so many amazing wearable looks with these. I love the looks that I created with this palette. I was like blown away, and I just feel like this is a really, really fun twist on a very bright summery palette. I think you would be able to do a lot more with this than you even think. So if you haven't picked up this collection yet, I do believe it is still in stock, and there's also a collection bundle that comes with a lip gloss and face duo that Heather designed. I'm kind of sad that the face duo is a part of the collection set because the face duo is so stunning. It's got two beautiful like highlightery blush shades that just look so beautiful on all different skin tones. So if you've been contemplating it, I would say that this palette is very, very versatile and so much fun, and the formula is amazing. So yeah, I just had to include this. I'm trying really hard not to talk about all new stuff, but there are a few like exceptionally good new palettes that I had to mention for you guys in case you're thinking of picking something up this summer. Okay, let's hit up a oldie. This is the Palettopoly palette from Beaute. I thought this one would be fun if you guys are kind of looking for that like chaotic, colorful palette. I feel like this palette does have kind of defined color stories, but if you really wanted to take a dip on the wild side, you could probably do like a palette bingo with this palette. I remember that this collection was so hyped because they did come out with like a board game, and I think that they did a really good job of kind of giving this palette its moment. So if you're looking for something that's bright and colorful but still has some contrast to it and also would be great for creating some neutral looks, then definitely check out the Palettopoly palette from Beaute. Okay, another new palette that is so stunning is the Stone and Rock palette from Odins Eye. Now, this is not necessarily like a summer color story as far as like being like vibrant and bright, like neons and like really rainbowy or anything like that, but oh my god, this palette packs a punch. I have done a look with this palette that just like blew me away. It's so gorgeous. I love their formula. Their metallics are so buttery, which I love. You guys know I love really opaque, very like buttery metallics that just foil effortlessly. and let me tell you, these ones do just that. I don't know if this palette is limited edition, but oh my goodness, I would hate for you guys to miss out on this. So if you haven't picked it up yet, highly recommend. This matte white is so stunning. And yeah, I mean, the metallics, this shade called, what is this one? This Frenzy. It's like a white iridescent shade. So stunning. This shade called High Spirits is a beautiful multi-chrome. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on and on. So yeah, highly recommend this one. Okay, next is the Lure palette from Blend Bunny. This one did come out this year, but I'm still obsessed with it. I think this color story is epically beautiful. I still get tagged in you guys' looks with this palette. I still hear people raving about this palette, and it's for absolutely good reason. It is kind of a gradient, and then you get like the lighter shade, the darker shade, and a mid-tone shade. And so I feel like this palette would work for beginners. It'll work for people that really want to have every shade in the rainbow in their collection. And you can just do that with one brand, with Blend Bunny, because she has so many palettes like this with different like variations of the same shade. So you could just have all the Blend Bunny palettes and be done with your collection. Realistically, of course, I'm a makeup savage, so I can never have enough, but oh my gosh, this is probably my favorite Blend Bunny palette. I did see they're starting to sneak peek their new palette though, so I'm very excited to see what it's gonna be. Okay, so now we're gonna do another old palette. This is the Chippy Gray and Unearthly collaboration. I feel like this palette did not get the hype it deserved. Now this one is a bright and vibrant rainbow palette. I know, rainbows for Pride Month, rainbows for summertime. Karen is so revolutionary with her ideas. But these matte shadows definitely, at least with my skin tone, work really well. If you have been watching me for some time, you know that there are some colorful mattes that I struggle with to get pigmentation out of. But oh my gosh, again, I was blown away by these mattes. The metallics are nice, but the mattes are what really knocked my socks off. So if you are of a tan or deep complexion and you struggle to find eyeshadows that show up on your skin tone, maybe consider picking this up. I mean, it is a collaboration with a woman of color, so I wouldn't expect anything less than having really beautiful pigmented shadows. I love Unearthly as a brand, so I'm very excited that they did this beautiful collaboration. I talked about 2 Unearthly palettes, and they also happen to be collaboration palettes. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I think this is still available on the Unearthly website, so if my description of it sounded good to you, I would say don't miss out, because I don't think this is coming back once she sells out of it. Okay, it's time for a new palette. So I had to talk about the Yuka palette from Natasha Denona. Now, I think this has been out for like a month at this time, so it's still pretty new, but I just think this is the hottest palette for the summer. I think this is a neutral palette with pops of green. You guys will have to let me know what you think. I feel like the grungy olives are back, and I am so here for it. I could literally do just like an olive toned palette collection because I have so many grungy palettes like this, but this palette is honestly so beautiful. I just wore it the other day when I went out to hang out with my husband and the kids. We did like Father's Day photos, and I quickly threw this eyeshadow palette on because I feel like it leans neutral enough where you could wear this every day if you desired. And I think this is my favorite Natasha Denona midi size palette. Okay, I wanted to pick some colorful palettes, so I did go ahead and grab the Nomad. This is the Mount Verde palette. So this is a really fun, basically rainbow palette from Nomad Cosmetics. Now, I feel like Nomad always kills it with their color stories. They recently launched a very close dupe to the Yuka palette called the Okavango Delta palette. I do have a video on that, but I really tried hard not to make this video all new palettes. So if you haven't checked out this palette from Nomad, I'm trying not to swatch these because we'll be here forever, but I remember this shade, Hanging Bridges. It's like a peachy green shadow. It's so beautiful. So yeah, Nomad always just does some really cool color stories, and I'm always here to see how they interpret their destinations with their palettes. So this palette is so fun and beautiful, and yes, this video is full of rainbow palettes, but you know what? It's summertime. I'm ready to live my best colorful makeup loving life. Okay, I picked another colorful palette. This one is from Lethal Cosmetics. I think this came out closer to the end of last year, but I was like, this is a fun palette for summertime. This is one of their best formulas, I think, and it just has the most pigmented metallics. You guys know, again, I love buttery metallics. I love green eyeshadows, so of course, this one is like right up my alley. And I think this is called the Metamorphosis. I don't know. They came out with two. One was more of like a fallish, like reds, burgundies, and like yellows. And then they came out with this one. And this one is chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. So beautiful. And I also love that Lethal Cosmetics does have a palette builder on their site. So if you don't want to buy one of their pre-made palettes, you can kind of pick your favorite shades and create a beautiful palette that is more suitable to your needs, which I think is such a fun option. And I do see a lot of indie brands are also creating singles of their palettes, which I think is smart because, you know, sometimes people have the mattes that they want, or they have all these beautiful, you know, multi-chrome shadows. So they're just looking for a few mattes to kind of complete a look. So I love that brands are giving their customers options. So anyway, I trailed off a little bit there, but the next palette is a neutral palette, and I thought this one would be fun because I find myself wanting a neutral palette when I'm maybe taking like a little day trip, or for example, I did have this Cala palette from Beaute in my hospital bag when I was recently in the hospital giving birth to my second daughter. So a really nice small neutral palette like this is always handy to have for your summer travels. I know this is a little bit silly because I've been showing so many colorful palettes, but I honestly love what Beaute has been doing with their formula. This one is gorgeous, really a simple palette, but it's pigmented. The metallics are so beautiful. This would be a beautiful palette also if you have like an event to go to in the summertime, like a wedding or a graduation, and you want to do a beautiful smoky look. Look no further than this palette from Beaute. Okay, last but certainly not least, number 10 is a colorful palette from Sigma Beauty. This is the Alice in Wonderland collection from Sigma Beauty, and it is a really fun, colorful palette, but there are also some neutral shades. Again, we're seeing those olives and grungy greens, which are right up my alley. So I think this is probably one of the more colorful palettes that Sigma has done. So of course, I wanted to mention it to you guys. Sigma does have one of those eyeshadow formulas that's a little bit different from indie brands. I think this formula is more close to mainstream brands. So nice, reliable mattes and metallics, but you're not going to see those like multi-chromes or those really creamy metallic shades that I like, but they still work really nicely. I've just been a fan of Sigma Beauty for quite some time. I still remember when I saw the Quarter Rosa palette and I was immediately like hooked. I was like, I need to try this palette out. It just looks absolutely gorgeous, and I haven't looked back since then. So if you're looking for a fun palette that is a Disney themed palette, then check out the Alice in Wonderland palette from Sigma Beauty. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it inspired you to shop your stash if you're on a low buy or a no buy this summer. Let me know what palettes you guys are reaching for this season, and I will see you guys in a new video very soon. Bye for now.